So, good morning, everybody. I'm very pleased to be here, and I thank Anna for having invited me to be here. The whole issue of prostitution has been an ongoing thorn in the side of feminism because of the different views that people have and the different perspectives that are used in relation to prostitution. But we are here today, and we are here to listen to survivors' experiences, their actual experiences. So, as you heard Angèle, we have 𝘓𝘓𝘵𝘬𝘯𝘪𝘯𝘵𝘢𝑥
Yeah.
and Saga Brodersen.
Yeah.
Okay. So I will actually give the floor to Marie first. And is that okay? Yes?
No.
No? Saga, okay. Well, in that case, I will give the floor to Saga first. Okay?
Yes.
And really, I would like, Saga, for you to talk to us about your experiences, what effect these experiences had on you, how and why did you exit,
Yes.
and how and why are you here with us today as a survivor, as an advocate, activist.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hi and good morning. I'm honored to be here. Oh, okay, this is very loud. Yeah, okay. Okay, great. Yes, so my name is Saga Brodersen, to say it in Swedish. And I work as an expert at a Swedish organization called ChildX, an organization that works with fighting sex trafficking of children. And I'm also a founding member of the Swedish and Scandinavia's biggest survivor-led organization called 𝘓𝘓𝘓𝘵𝘓𝘓𝘓. And at 𝘓𝘓𝘓𝘓𝘓𝘓, we offer peer-to-peer support that we share within the organization. And I can surely say that it really saved my life, because peer-to-peer support is so incredibly important, because we know what the other person has gone through, and we can really relate to each other. And the stigma is taken away from the individual. So, as a survivor of prostitution and commercial sexual exploitation in one of the few countries that actually criminalizes sex buyers and pimps and decriminalizes us, I know why penalties against the Johns and the pimps are needed in order to fight the demand and support victims of prostitution and trafficking. And I know that you probably want to know how and when I was exploited, but to share myself from getting triggered and getting flashbacks, I won't go into details. So I will not talk about details, but what I will say is I was exploited from a young age, and it really damaged me. Like you say, it really damaged a person. And it affected me to every level. And the only thing I can say is that I honestly feel lucky that I'm sitting here today, because there were many times I was not as sure. And lucky is a word that I often come back to. And I often say that I'm lucky because I got the right help in time, because many of the children and the women in commercial sexual exploitation, they don't get help, and they don't get the right help at all. And I am lucky that I was born in a country like Sweden, where the Nordic model was implemented the same year I was born. So I've always been growing up knowing that the law was on my side. And my classmates that were boys were growing up learning that buying and selling another person's body is illegal and equals a social exclusion on both a micro and a macro level in society, and that itself is the biggest penalty of all. And the question regarding demand is so important, because I think that here is where we can really make a change. In a dream world, we shouldn't even be talking about what sanctions to take against the Johns and the pimps. Because if we teach our children, our young boys, about reality of trafficking and prostitution and pornography, if we start from scratch and the upcoming generations learn that consent cannot be bought, we have already come a long way into solving this horrific crime and violence. And I really think that the Nordic model and how we approach commercial sexual exploitation in Sweden helped me exit prostitution when I was around 20 years old. Because the law looks like it does, and I lived in Stockholm where we had access to the right medical care, trauma therapy, and social workers with knowledge on how to support people in prostitution, I could get the help to leave before it was too late. And by too late, I mean that it's always just a matter of time before you get trafficked and controlled by pimps. That could lead to a dangerous outcome for your life. And people say that prostitution is the world's oldest profession, but in reality, we know that it's the world's oldest form of oppression. So if we can agree to this inequality of power, then we can also agree that buying sex is, in fact, an act of violence. And the people that helped me, they saw it for what it was. They saw it that it was violence, so they helped me escape it. And it was hard. The healing process and exit process wasn't linear. It's like leaving domestic violence. It takes time. And it also takes time for your body to understand that you're worthy of more. But the most important factor on how I got out was this. You know the feeling you have within yourself that says you've got to fight for a better world. And you've got to make this world a better place somehow. And that is why I became an activist, really. For those who cannot speak for themselves, and for those who are threatened to silence. Like, for those who are threatened to silence the same way I was all those years ago. So I'm doing this for them, really. And today my activism also includes shining a light on how to work with survivors in a responsible way. We should always ensure that our voices are included in all efforts to address human trafficking and commercial sexual exploitation, exactly like you are doing today. Because the needs and experience of survivors are unique and instrumental to all discussion related to programs, policies, and legislation in the field of trafficking. Unfortunately, meaningful survivor inclusion in the field has been limited so far, as we as survivors have repeatedly been viewed only as victims and not as experts, and our interventions have often been limited to sharing the stories of our exploitation. Because I don't even know where to begin when it comes to give examples of how many times I've felt exploited all over because of the way that especially media and press think that our stories and our lives can be used for clicks and clickbait. For example, one interview with a newspaper had the title, "Saga had sex with married old men." The title said nothing about the exploitation and that I was a victim of violence. So even where we have been invited to the table and our stories are being listened to, we are treated as stories and not as people. Therefore, an important part of my activism is that I want to affirm that our stories are powerful and respectfully listened to, because every survivor's voice can create positive change. And I really sense that we are starting to change our perspectives on how to work with survivors as well, to see us as experts and not only as victims. Because besides all risks and the risk of being re-exploited by talking about your past traumas in a public space, being a survivor activist has truly been one of the most healing processes that I've gone through. So again, I want to thank you for inviting me here and for treating me and other survivors with respect, listening to us, seeing that this is violence against women and children and LGBTQ+ community. It's crucial in order to change, and we need the equality model here in Malta because it is violence, and I know that we're gonna help so many people if we start to open our eyes and seeing it for what it truly is. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Saga. Thank you for sharing that with us. And I would agree with you that your voices are very powerful, and we are honored that you have come to share with us your powerful voice. So thank you, Saga.